CloudFormation stack. So last week you did Beanstalk, which was great. And now we're going to kind of dig into CloudFormation a little bit better. So in your console, go ahead and dig into CloudFormation. Now what's interesting, though, your Beanstalk stuff's still here. So it's really kind of interesting that you can actually do a whole process. You have some managed defaults. We've got some sample SAM templates, and then we've got a stack set for quick setup for SS home management. And all of these things have been completed. So remember, when you're in here and you're doing automation, CloudFormation is basically your last place you're going to go do stuff. So we can either import or we can create with new standard resources. So we'll just go ahead with new. We can either make our own template, use a sample template, or create a template in Designer. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just use a sample template. If we do use a template, we have to put it in S3, or we can upload it as a template file, and then our S3 URL, which means we have to have access to it. If we just use a sample template, we can just go ahead and pull which any one we want, whether that's simple, WordPress blog, LAMP stack, Ruby, pretty straightforward. We can do some Windows stuff too, Windows Active Directory. But let's just do a very simple LAMP stack. And what's really neat, though, is we can actually go ahead and view it in the Designer, which is really kind of neat. If you've never seen the Designer before, I actually really appreciate this when it comes up. You can actually go through and kind of pull all the bits and pieces together when it renders out. And it may take a minute because the network I'm on is really weird. Okay, so we're kind of going here. So this is about the point when you're like wondering why the network is like so super slow. It's not Amazon, it's my network. You can sit there and you could probably go run around the building 4 or 5 times if you really wanted to while we wait for the Designer to load. But the Designer is way too cool, so I really want you to see this. So you can actually drag and drop things, and it will show you your web server, your web server security group. Now this is your template, right? And this is all in JSON format. Right? If we wanted to do it in YAML, we could just go ahead and click over to YAML, and it will tell you all the things you've got going: passwords, strings, web server security groups, all of my resource types if I wanted to add something to it. It's really nice. And it will tell you exactly what you've got cooking and how you wanted to do it, and anything else you wanted. You can just go ahead and bring it up by your parameter store, or whatever components you want, set any kind of conditions, any kind of metadata, and any kind of output. So the Designer is really super cool. So if we just can drag and drop extra components in here, if we wanted to add some auto scaling plans, we could go ahead and do a backup, and then go ahead and bring that over, and we just drop it in, and we can say, oh hey, we want to back up our web server to this, and we can just go boom, hook it over here, and you'd be good to go. And then if you don't want it anymore, you can delete it. It's really neat. So I like this. This is really cool. So when you're done, you can just go ahead and close it. We're not going to save anything to it. But the Designer is really cool because now you can drag and drop components and really kind of just flesh out your idea in a visual way. And you know what makes it even better? You have documentation all of a sudden, which is like really neat, because having that documentation is really important to making sure that you are running a good, clean, solid app. And we're going to wait for the thing to load. Hopefully I don't have to break this video up and edit it, because I'm waiting on my hotel network, which is really horrible today. I don't know why. There we go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a stack with resources. We're just going to use a sample template. We're not going to use the Designer on this one. We're going to create a simple LAMP stack, right? And then we can just go next. So the real cool part, though, we're going to give it a stack name. Go Dan, test, DevOps, any kind of parameters, MySQL database. We can give it a password. Right, so we're just going to go ahead and suggest whoa, buddy, we don't want to do that. We're just going to go ahead and use a bad password. It's the same one. Extra small. Key name, we go like key pair, because that's our SSH from anywhere. Okay, so we gave it a name, we gave it some passwords, didn't write them down. We're good, go next. Never save, because it's a thing. Do we want to do an IAM role? Let's do a quick setup admin. and we'll go through all this. If the cool part is if you go ahead and it all fails, it will roll back. And I actually really like this rollback feature because it really does make your life a whole lot easier. If you're in there and something fails, it will just roll back to whatever the previous working version was, or you can actually preserve anything that actually went through good. That's okay. It depends on where you want to go. I'm really more of a rollback person. If it didn't work, it's an all or nothing proposition for me. We can create a stack policy if we wanted to. Basically, we can define whatever the update actions can be performed on the designated resources. So no stack policy. Any kind of monitoring time, if we wanted to set it up for however long we wanted to make sure the operation continue monitoring for specific alarms. So if there was something weird going on, we could actually just go in there and so for 10 minutes after rollout, we should be good to go. Is there any kind of ARN to this? No. So we don't really have any alarms or anything else. So we're okay. Notification, I can go through SNS if I already have a topic set up. I don't have any. So we'd have to create a new one. And then any stack creation options, kind of timeouts, anything else, termination protection, if you want to make sure you can't just turn it off and then go next. And now it generates a template and gives you an estimated cost. Now I really like the estimated cost portion of this, and I'm really missing my at-home network right now because I would be like bouncing around all these pages and pretty good to go. The important part, again, is keeping an eye on your costs, right? And that's one of the big things about the pay-as-you-go model, especially with the internet and with the way Amazon works. That pay-as-you-go model is like really super important. So it will kind of give you an idea of how much all this stuff is going to cost by what you've got going. So we really don't have a whole lot of costs here, right? So it should be pretty small because we're using all the small little odds and sods and bits and pieces of this. So they're basically saying that this should cost nothing. Now, of course, this is Amazon pay-as-you-go model. It's going to cost something, right? So we have all of our stuff. We can configure any kind of tags that we want to have, any kind of keys and values, permissions we set up, roll back on failures, no policies, no configuration, nothing else. And then we just go ahead and recreate the stack. And we just let it go do its thing, and we just wait, right? We're just going to go ahead and we're going to wait for this thing to go do its thing. If you're impatient, right, you can just sit there and you can keep on whacking on the refresh button, and it will tell you what happens. And access denied. So that's actually pretty good. So we don't have permission on those key pairs, so the whole thing failed. And that's okay. That's actually really kind of cool, because now I need to go back through and kind of figure out what ended up happening, why we didn't have those key pairs, did I choose the wrong key pair for this, all those other things. But we can kind of see if I had got some resources used, any kind of outputs I had, any kind of parameters. The cool part is, again, that template, this tells you everything that I had programmed up. So even though it failed, I can go ahead and just save this template off or view it in the designer, and then any kind of changes that I wanted to do, so we could actually create a change set if I wanted to by replacing the current template or editing the template in the designer and going through all this. So CloudFormation is totally awesome. I really like it, and it's super easy to use. And even though it blows out because we used the wrong key pair, the cool part is it actually keeps track of where you were and what you were doing. So now you know what was going on, and if you just use the wrong key pair, which you know is going to happen, it's an easy fix. Just go back and do a thing. The nice part is that it rolled back and didn't really start any resources for me in US East 1, and that's what I'm the most happy about. So that's it. That's the entire walkthrough of this whole thing, and we'll be doing this in class, but I just wanted you to have the video too. Thanks. Have a great day.